And we're live. Today we're diving into shocking new research. Maybe it's going to be shocking, maybe not so shocking for some of you, about how hair discrimination fuels depression in Black adolescent girls and why this conversation is long overdue. Because apparently there is a deeper connection between hair discrimination and mental health that's been overlooked for far too long. So stay with us as we share some real stories and provide actionable steps to spark change. It's not just going to be a discussion, but I really want to kind of leave with, well, what do we do? How are we to help and support and empower the next generation, right? So if you're ready to dive in, let's get started. But first, I want to introduce my fabulous guests. I have with me here Miss LaToya Davis. And LaToya is a raw vegan, holistic health coach, speaker, wellness advocate, with over a decade of experience in plant-based living and 9 years as a dedicated raw vegan. LaToya is a powerhouse in holistic health and lifestyle transformation. As a raw vegan holistic lifestyle coach, she empowers people to set and achieve practical, sustainable health goals, whether they're just beginning in their wellness journey or seeking to deepen their commitment to raw veganism. One of the biggest things about her that I think is the most exciting for folks to hear is that she has personal experience with a raw vegan pregnancy and nursing. And so you'll notice on today's show, we have two Black moms, right, of young girls who can speak to this issue. And I think the fact that LaToya is coming from this avenue of like a health perspective, having done her pregnancy raw, so already with that intentionality of health and wellness and nursing. So it's going to be really interesting as we dive in on how this has impacted your mothering, within this conversation. So thank you so much, LaToya. For those of you who want to get in touch with her, and of course we're going to cover all of this at the end too, but you can find her at divineinfinitenature.com. LaToya, thanks again for joining.
Thank you for having me.
And we have also with us my beautiful mom, who is a trained cosmetologist and a salon owner for over 40 years, starting in 1977 in the hair industry. So she not only brings the experience of being a Black mom, but also being in the industry, and also being in the industry at a time where I feel like it was a different time, which we're going to dive into too, and just like what Black identity is like and has looked like over the decades. So we'll dive into that. Ma, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, yeah. So, and myself, I'm Samantha Salmon, National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach. Again, thank you all for joining us live. I see we already have some thumbs up. Thank you for whoever gave us the thumbs up. Let us know where you're watching and where you're tuning in from. We're live on various platforms, so you can just drop a note in the comments. Just let us know what you're excited to learn in today's session. All right, so what are we talking about today? There was a cross-sectional study involving 193 young women made up of Black, white, and Latina girls in grades 9 through 11. So this is the high school time frame, right? This researcher, her name is Adenique Lisse, I think that's how you pronounce her last name. She found that hair-related dissatisfaction and discrimination were uniquely prevalent among Black girls and strongly linked to increased depressive symptoms. Now, me personally, when I saw this, it really shocked me because I'm like, depression, really? I mean, that feels like a heavy word to be linked to hair, right? But I want to kind of zoom out a little bit. According to the research right now, and if you want to look up the citation, there was a report published by Common Sense Media that stated that 81% of teens of all demographics, all backgrounds, feel negative pressure to meet expectations around appearance, social status, activism, and future success. And most of them admit to social media making it worse, right? And of course, they did this study. They found that on average, they're spending almost 5 hours a day on their phones. Okay, so this, seems like it's contributing a lot, right? 81% of teens. That's a lot, right? Now, within that framing, this researcher, Adenique, she looked at less than 200 girls of all these different backgrounds, Black, white, Latina, and decided from her study that hair was hair satisfaction stood out as the critical factor for Black adolescent girls. And the study basically was trying to emphasize the need for culturally tailored intervention, including positive hair messaging and programs. They highlighted one in particular called attachment therapy, with hair in the name, which I thought was pretty cute, to improve hair satisfaction and alleviate symptomology of depression around that. I would love to get your opinions on this study. Like, what's your thoughts on the study, just generally? And I'll start with you, Ma.
Okay, I read the article, but they didn't say, I don't remember when this study was done. What year was this study done? Just previously.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
done. It's a recent study, so I'm pretty sure
okay.
it was
And
just published in this month.
my understanding for that is because, take for example, when you were a child, that wasn't an issue then. There was nothing mental about having the kind of hair that you have. And you always wasn't into hair, but you loved your hair. And you didn't have to bother with it. We were the one who did your hair. When I say we, I mean any one of my help in the shop or whatever. But we were the one who did your hair. Your hair was no bother. So I am only saying this to say that it's because of social media today why the percentage is so high. Because other than the magazine that children used to look in, because we used to get a lot of magazine and kids used to look and compare themselves, why my hair is not like this or that. But I think all these things start from home though, because the parents is the one who's supposed to let the children know from they were born how beautiful they are. Their hair is beautiful. They were created beautiful by God. God created them into his own image. In the Bible, it speaks about the hair is wool. Yes, so it's beautiful wool hair. And there is nothing wrong with it. So I think it's because of today modern society and social media why children are struggling so much, because they're always on the social media and comparing themselves.
I wanna come back to some points that you made. I want to hear from you, LaToya. Like, what are your thoughts initially when you read the study?
Yes. Yes, I would like to veg you back on what was just stated that immediately when I was listening, that it was like, okay, I know social media has a huge impact on why the numbers are higher. Because just in general, just you think about adults and how adults compare themselves to people just in general. I can only imagine how it impacts children of today. I'm glad that I didn't grow up during the time of social media where it was so heavy, because it's just so unfortunate. And I agree, as now as a mother, that it starts at home. It starts also, especially, I wear my hair natural and have been natural for a long time now. I didn't grow up with my hair natural all the time. I think I got a relaxer when I was 5 or 6 years old when I got a relaxer. So my daughter is 6, and she will stay unrelaxed. But for me, I find that when a mother also hair is similar to their child's, like me being natural, I think that also helps. And I find that young children, little girls, particularly black girls, they love natural hair. Like, I've noticed they always compliment. Whenever I'm out and about or whatever, or when I used to do a lot of substitute teaching, I noticed they love complimenting me on my hair. So I know, I feel like it does start at home. It does start with positive images, making sure that your child is getting positive images of themselves and making sure that they're reading books that instill that. Thankfully, there are more authors focusing on hair and the beauty of it, especially black hair. Like my daughter loves Hair Love. There's a book called Hair Love. It is such a cute book, and it's like the dad is doing the hair. It's so cute, and she loves it. And the name is so similar to hers. The main character is Zuri, and Zuri's name is Zuriah, and it's just beautiful. And her hair is very similar to the book, the author, the main character. So like I feel like that's extremely important, and just saying you're beautiful, your hair is beautiful, that is extremely important. So I agree wholeheartedly.
Interesting. Yeah. So both of you, like, what do you think is the validity to the conclusion that was made here, though? Because when you look at this study in particular, it was less than 193 young girls, and they're of a variety of races, right? And so one of the questions that came to mind is like, is there statistical significance? Like, did you look at or talk to enough black girls to make this statement, and then publish it, right? What does publishing it do to us? Because I know for black women, hair is really complicated, right? And then to link it to depression, right? Because of discrimination or whatever. I'm not sure what's happening in high school around this, but when you become an adult, yeah, like obviously you're being judged. You're dealing with issues of racism, really, is what it is, right? And obviously, if it wasn't an issue, we wouldn't have the Crown Act to make it illegal for people to be discriminated against based on their hair. But do you feel like enough young black girls were talked to even make this conclusion?
No. No. I don't
Tell me,
think so.
yeah, tell me more about that. Like, why do you question
Because
that?
I'm only speaking from my experience, because being a salon owner, I come across a lot of that. And the majority of young people that come into my shop, maybe 2% of them didn't like their hair. And I'm going to tell you what the 2% is. Those that are interracial kids or interracial marriages, where the kids, the parent, one of the parent married to somebody who was white, or one married to somebody who was black, but those children was not from the white parent. And now they're comparing their hair with their white sisters and brothers from the marriage. You understand what I'm saying?
Mixed, yeah.
Mixed, right. So only like 2% of those. So and I've been a salon owner for 42 years. I come across that, but it was not a lot of that. I come across where young people embraced their natural hair right up until when I retired, 2020. So I didn't come across a lot of that. But then remember, those young people were kids just a little younger than you, Sam. Just a little younger. I would say I was dealing with children at that age. They were like 16 and 17 at that time, right? When I say just a little younger, yeah, at that time. But no, it wasn't a large percentage. Because
Yeah.
as I say before, it starts from home. Because as a mother or a father, you are supposed to tell the child, this is the hair that you were given. You didn't buy this. This was given from God. It's a gift. Your hair is a gift. And this is all it's like you have to teach your kids when they're young. And I think that's what it is. It's a locking of something in the home why children behave like that.
Well, LaToya, what are your thoughts? Because I mean, I know you said you had your hair relaxed. So, I mean, what was I guess the impetus behind that, and then why did you go natural? after?
Yes, I'm not sure why my mother decided to do. She had two heads to do too. I'm not sure why she decided to relax. My only thought is just that's what a lot of black women do with their. I knew. I mean, I grew up in the '90s. That's what I saw. I suppose a lot of they were either pressed, straightened, or they're relaxed. So I'm not reason why, but I didn't even remember. I remember the curiosity of like, what, how does my natural hair feel like? I don't remember what my hair felt like. So I was curious when I got into my college years. But growing up, as far as my hair, I definitely wanted to express myself with my hair. That was important for me. So I definitely had hangups in regards to that, like wanting it to look nice. But it wasn't that I thought that my hair was ugly. Like I didn't like I still embraced my hair or whatnot. It was just more so learning how to my hair properly and all of that. But it wasn't like I didn't think that my hair was ugly. Like I definitely never felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
But as I got older and got to college, and I remember back then the forums were popular, like the online forums, and going on the hair forums, and I saw women, grown women, adult like older than me with their hair natural, and I was like, I want to know what my hair like felt like, look like, and feels like. So that's what I did, and then I didn't stop. But what transitioned me is the curiosity of this book that was shared in the forum called "Untangling the Roots of Black Hair in America." That book, I probably was like 20 years old around that time, and I read the book and saw how the history of our hair, like the history of it and how important it is. I was like, wow, I want to do this even more now. So I
Mm-hmm.
do feel like it does start at home, as which was already stated, in that it's about just showing the pride in it and the history behind it, is extremely important, and the
Yeah.
variety behind it, the beauty behind it. So, I also agree that there needed to be more research. Even though this does highlight a certain aspect of it, I do feel
Mhm.
like more younger people are embracing their natural hair even more. Like more people are straightening their hair still, but a lot of them are wearing their hair way more natural than when I was coming up. So I do feel like this could be a study that can be explored more deeply.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Carol. I see Carol has joined us live. Thank you so much for joining us in the conversation. We're talking about black hair and its impact on mental health for high school black women. Um, this I wanted to highlight here too with what both of you are saying, because I think it's important to mention that LaToya, you're speaking from the experience as a young black woman growing up in the South, right? Because you're originally from Georgia,
Right. Yes.
and you're now raising your daughter in Georgia.
Right.
Yeah, and mom, you're having this experience Jamaica Ave, Queens, New York, urban environment, right? And I remember growing up in the salon that, I was the unique one because my hair didn't get relaxed until senior year of
17.
high school
Yeah,
for
17.
prom or something like that. And
Right.
then it
Hmm.
continued into college. Um, and you had your strong reasons for why you didn't want to put relaxer in my hair, but you did have young girls coming to you getting relaxer.
Right.
So, what was your reasoning behind not wanting to relax
Okay.
my hair?
I was not their mother, but if I was their mother, they would not get relaxer. Because what I used to do with the young girls in the shop, I used to press their hair, hot
Hmm.
comb their hair. They call it the hot comb press. Now they flat iron it, which is very bad. But I would talk them into getting their hair pressed. They don't like the heat against their scalp. That's their problem. Now, LaToya said she got a relaxer when she was 5, right? That
Like
shocked
5 or
me.
6. Mm-hmm.
5 or 6, right? But you're not the
Mm-hmm.
only one, sweetheart. I had a customer who put relax in her child here. She was 3 years old. And I freaked out when I heard that because that's chemical. That child it could kill her hair follicle. It could burn her scalp. But anyhow, she got away with murder. the child hair is okay, and she was doing fine. She's a grown woman now, you know. But yes, those are dangerous things that parents do to their children. But I used to talk the parents out of relaxing the kids' hair as long as I could. So the majority of my young people were not getting perm. They were getting press and curl. I was doing press and curl like 12 a day.
Yeah.
Right.
And I
So
remember at that time, we weren't even privy to all of the consequences to, hair care products, that
right.
they're endocrine disruptors and how these chemicals can impact us in our ability to, have children, and have, a seamless menstrual process, right? As opposed to having a painful one. LaToya, I want to ask you, have you ever experienced a situation where anyone made a comment or judged you based on your hair, or maybe your daughter? Have you ever had that type of experience?
I'm trying to think. I don't recall people like growing up iron- doing it. I would have expected that during that time period still. No, as far as my daughter, people always compliment. People don't never say anything. I will say when I did work, I was in graduate school. I worked at a particular restaurant, and one of the managers, who's a black woman, was like trying to say, is there a way I can tame my hair, because I would have my fro, it was like a blown out fro, and is there a way to tame, even though it was beautiful, but and I would always get compliments ironically from customers and everybody, but she was trying to get me to like tame it, and I was just like, I couldn't believe it, and I was just like, but I just ignored it and just went on about my business. But that always stood out to me. I was like, a black woman doing that. That's mind blowing. So
exactly.
that was the only experience that I've had.
Hmm.
Thankfully, that most people always have complimented me, or even now, like, I don't ever get negativity. Thankfully.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I'm wondering, like, the pressure that people are under, even like the terminology that you just said, tame, and how that impacts us, um, our perception of ourselves, because that's basically what this study is kind of pointing to, is how we see ourselves, and then how we see ourselves affects how we show up in the world. If we're lacking in confidence at that age, what what are the effects and consequences of that when we get into college now, and we become even more of a minority group? I know that was my situation, being in Jamaica, Queens, where it's predominantly Black, West Indian, immigrant, and then going to NYU, where now I'm seeing, oh wow, I am a minority. There's like hardly any of us. And then you have to kind of like hold your own in those spaces, and then when you get into the work world, it's like this, where you are a minority, you look very different than those around you. How do you handle yourself and maneuver yourself if you've come from a place of judgment and self-critique, where you feel like your hair has to be tamed in order to fit in, to be accepted? Ma, I want to ask you, how do you think like society's beauty standards, especially around hair, influence self-worth among Black women and girls?
Excuse me. Before I answer the question, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Excuse me. How did you feel when you went to NYU and had to mix around people with long straight hair, wherein yours wasn't looking like them? How did you feel?
So interesting. So like my relationship with my hair has been really interesting, because I remember situations as a youth, like crying over my hair. And even more recently, at the age of like 37, crying over my hair, because I was actually told. And I didn't think I would ever really share this story. Ma, you want to get water or something? You okay?
Yeah, let me get some water.
Um,
Sorry.
yeah, where a business coach literally told me that in order for me to be successful, that I need to change my hair, right? And change how I look, because you know, she said more words, which I won't even say here, but it had me in my head feeling like, okay, so I cannot be successful unless I change how I look, right? Which I have always rejected this thing. But when this woman said it, she said it to me at a time where I was more open to feedback, and it had more of a bigger impact. So for me, you know, even with this research study, like I'm not sure about the young girls, because when I was younger, you know, in high school, it was diverse enough where, you know, and I grew up in the salon, so it wasn't a big deal. But yeah, in college, it was, you know, there was a lot in college. I don't think I ever didn't like or paid attention so much to how I looked, but more so the idea of professionalism, how you dress, how you show up, how you behave, that type of thing. Can you get more center, because you're like off the screen? Same thing for you, LaToya. I'm only seeing half your face. If you can move more to your right, LaToya.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my no.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. What was your question again? I'm very sorry.
Yeah, because I was asking you what you think about society's beauty standards, and specifically around hair and how that influences self-worth among Black women and girls.
It's a question that have so many different answers, but I'll stay focused. Because of society today, it put a lot of pressure on people. And I think it's about time that we stop the nonsense of how this 1 year look and how that 1 year look. As I said, we were created by God in God's image. So when you see someone just pretending that you're looking at God, whether the person has straight hair, kinky hair, curly hair, fluffy hair, whatever hair, pretend you're looking at God, because God created hair. We didn't do it. God did. So the way I feel about it, I think society need to more focus on people's integrity and behavior, and make sure that we grow these children in a way that they can be something to society one day, and not just their hair, because you don't really judge the book by its cover. You judge the book by inside of the book, what you read in there. And we are much more than our hair. This is what I usually tell the young people in the salon. You are not your hair. You're bigger than your hair. Take, for example, people that has to shave their head because they have cancer. They're still that human being. So I think that society got the kids all messed up. So if I have to blame anything today, I blame it on society. That's what caused kids to be mental. Social media, there should be limitation, honestly, when it comes on to young people. Because there is something in their brain that's supposed to be there before they even pick up that phone.
That makes
And
sense,
as I
because
said,
the brain's not fully developed until the age of 25 in girls.
exactly, that nurturing and stuff. And Sam, you always loved your hair. I never see you don't love your hair. You just don't love hair, period. You don't
Yeah,
love
I
hair.
mean, I think, yeah, hair, it just feels like such an annoyance
Yeah, you don't love
to me.
hair.
I
I
don't
think
care about it at all.
I think if your hair was long and straight, you'd feel the same way. You just don't love
I would
hair.
just, yeah, I would just have it in a ponytail or bun,
Exactly.
the same
So,
thing I do
you know,
now, basically, because I really don't care about it. But I think too, like with this woman, what she said, why it affected me is because it was being tied to my ability to be successful and make the impact I'm looking to make on this world, which is why it touched a core hurt. And because that is my main, I really don't care how I look. I had this running joke before. I used to say that, people are lucky I even have skin on my face, because if I didn't, you would really be scared, because I really just don't care. But ultimately, I think, when we look at what the study's trying to say, if it's true, why would this lead to these feelings of depression? I can only think it's because there's a core need for humanity to be loved and accepted, right? And if you don't feel that, right, and somehow they're ascribing it to their hair, then that's where, they're dealing with these feelings of, chronic low mood, which is what depression is.
When you think of life, we had COVID, right? And COVID affect a lot of people. What if something come into life, God forbid it ever happen, that we all lose our hair? Would we
Hmm.
still accept it as human being?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't think they should really judge people by their hair, what the hair look like, or I don't think
And
it's
these
right.
are and these and I want to acknowledge too what you're saying, because that used to be my mindset for a long time. Is like, society should be this way, right? And now I've come to the conclusion society is actually not this way. you know, two things can hold space at the same time. It's like we have this expectation of society, and this information is not coming from a place of like untruthfulness, right? Because we
No,
had
it's
to go
not.
so far as to create policy around it, right? Because it is what it is right now. LaToya, I want to ask you, like, in your experience, what role does the community play, or mentors in the community, in helping to shape young Black girls to navigate feelings around their hair to help build confidence?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like, of course, it starts at the home, but after the home, it extends out to the community. So it's important. I know, as even as a mom, as a parent, it's important for me to make sure that I am surrounded by people that share similar values as me and that will love on my child just as I do. So it's important that my daughter is surrounded by people um, that will embrace her and remind her, reiterate the beauty of who she is, not just physically but internally, um and focusing on the principles of life, of values, just your general values of just having good character. That's the
Mm-hmm.
point I'm trying to make. Having good character exceeds even, but also, although it's important to, the importance is good character, the importance is having, similar values, but also reminding your children that this is it's still a cruel world out there, and that there are going to be people out there that's going to say things or do things that may make you feel some type of way, but by instilling that in them, that they're beautiful, and that, making sure that their character is intact, I feel like is an important thing. So it's like instilling that in them, and also making sure that you're surrounded by people that reflect that, but
Yeah.
also giving them the other side of the coin, like, although this is how we operate, this is how we love, this is what we do, there's still, the reality of it is that the world can be cruel, and reminding them of that too. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I feel like. It's not as easy. I don't know, like, I feel like when we're younger, it's easier to have friendships and have that, and your parents bring that community to you. I find that with the path that I'm on, that it is, to me, it's more of a challenge to attract a tribe that I really feel like values align with mine. So
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely something. It takes time. We have to get off of social media. I find that we have to get off the social media, get back to basics of interacting as regular human beings. We need more humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is because right now is a little different. I feel like,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I want to say I'm sorry that you had to experience that from a business coach. Like, that's crazy.
Hmm.
I understand them giving critiques on things to appeal, but I wouldn't say something like your hair, as far as something that comes out, it grows out of your head. That to me is extremely, like, offensive. Like, I I'm so sorry you had to experience that. That's not okay. Like,
Yeah.
that
I
bothered me.
mean,
Like, you saying that, I'm just like, "What?" That's crazy, I yeah. We live
What
in a
bothers
time where
me,
authenticity
yeah, what
we live in
bothers
a
me
time of
more is
authenticity.
that it bothered me. you know? Like the fighter in me is like, what? Like how you gonna even absorb this? you know?
Yeah, it's just the nerve. I think it's just the nerve, audacity of that person to
Yeah.
say that, it's like we are in the age where we need that authenticity. It's like show up as yourself. Of course, you can wear something or whatever that reflects something that you like and, but I when it comes to like, your beauty and which is, your hair is a part of that, but it's not who you are holistically. But still, I just think that even like that's perfect example of how we have to be mindful of like I get this connected community, mindful of who we connect to, s- lean to for support when it even comes to things like coaching or business or
And
whatever.
this
Because that's
part, yes, this part I want to say because like you had mentioned earlier the woman in the place and it was a black woman. So where I got these messages from was actually from two black women. And
I'm not
it
surprised.
and it was a space of black women supporting black women entrepreneurs. And part of me is like I hear what you're saying because I remember there was a situation some years ago with my brick and mortar business where my dad said something that hurt me and felt offensive to me, right? But I understood it came from the fact that he is of a different time, right? He is now in his 80s, I believe. So he operated in America at a time where, you know, when you're black and you're showing up in white spaces, you have to, they felt at that time, show up a certain way, right? And we call it now respectability politics and even like how you dress, right? How, um, me as a millennial, right? I fight against that. But then to hear, then being in this space of black women supporting black women entrepreneurship, it's like, well, this is the dynamic we're living in. This is what you have to do, and when you contend with the reality of the situation, like even if you don't agree, like you're against it and you want to be successful, you know, it's like it's really a tough um it feels tough. Like it's like I understand now what the folks back then, like in the time of Martin Luther King and all those people, what they were contending with, but at the same time too, how they showed up. I wonder if they had so much resistance to it as we do now because of like the way in which millennials come into the space and the generations after, we're way more self-expressive and freedom is a big thing for us. Whereas I
Yeah.
feel like, yeah, ma, share it, share.
Yeah, I hear you and I can feel you. But freedom is not that free. And I think what it is, the molding of young people is very important because I was molded when I was young and I took it into my adult age and I was able to give that on to my children. Now, whether they take it or not, I gave because I'm not selfish. Whatever is good, I'm going to give it anyhow. But there is lesson to be learned on it. There are certain ways that you have to present yourself. You have to look successful. Number one, we can do a lot with our hair. We don't have to straighten it to look successful. Um, and I say this to say that if you look when somebody children are traveling today, they're gone on the airplane with their bed slippers and their pajama. I don't believe in those things. That's a no-no for me.
Yeah. When
You
Monique said that,
understand?
she was dragged all over the internet when she said that. You remember?
Yes. Yeah, but listen, they just said it the other day. There's this airline who is striking down on people dress a certain way to get on the airline. People have a way of trying to wear bathing suit top on the airline. They want people to cover themselves. And I think these are things that you were taught when you're young growing up. And these are things that should not leave a young person, the way you dress, the way you carry yourself, because it speaks value.
And at the
You don't
same
have to.
time, I hear you, and I feel like from a millennial perspective, and LaToya, I would love for you to chime in on this, is that it feels like there's two sets of rules for depending on how you present in the world, right? So, like, if you present like me, there's a set of rules, and if you present like, let's say, um, you know, I don't know. I'm struggling to even think of somebody right now. I guess like somebody like Zendaya, for example.
Mhm.
Ma, do you even know who Zendaya is?
No, I have no idea.
Okay. I'm trying to think of somebody you would know, or like,
Zendaya's old.
yeah, like
Old.
think of like Beyonce if she
Oh, okay.
looked like how she looked, right? And it's not even just even somebody like Beyonce, but like somebody like Taylor Swift, for example. Okay, so
Well,
Taylor
those are
Swift, yeah, you have Taylor Swift and Beyonce. Think of them as like normal humans, how they would dress and operate and act if they weren't celebrities, right? Um, I just feel like they're different. It seems as if sometimes they're different sets of rules depending on how you present, right? I mean, LaToya, do you agree or am I off base with this?
Yeah, I would say that it's true that just in general, people will judge you based upon what you appear to be, what you look like. It's just so interesting. I would say that for me personally, is how I dress, how I present myself is a big reflection, self-expression. That's and it's difficult for me to be in line to to follow the rules of what society deems. I feel like as long as for me, I do want to be covered up. I will say that I want to be
Right.
covered up, and I
Yeah.
want to walk outside, and I'm not going to walk outside with pajamas on. I'm not going to do that, none of that
Right.
or whatever. And
Hmm.
I won't have my child doing that. She will be taught to, you know, walk outside like you have a purpose. And I've
Right.
been told that, and it's funny because I like to wear the hair wraps. I like to wear my hair, like my natural hair and all of that,
Hmm.
like my big jewelry or whatever. And I get so many like my it's always a talking piece, or somebody always asking me about something, regardless of their background, regardless of, their culture or whatever. It's the thing. I feel like, so it's your energy, but it's also like how you carry yourself, like how you feel in what you're wearing and how you're carrying yourself. I know that for me, it would be extremely difficult for me to be in like corporate America, where everybody's wearing like suits, and like, I love wearing skirts and dresses, but it's gonna look differently. Like, I'm gonna stand out just because it's just my nature. So
Right.
I know for me, it will be extremely difficult to be in like corporate America, where they may have a certain standard, because it's the millennial in me too, probably. It's just, I can't do that. I don't feel like I'm being true to myself. I also feel like more so there's two groups of people that are more inclined to follow the rules and follow what society deems, and those who don't. It don't mean that you're breaking rules, but you choose to do things in ways that you feel like is aligned to your nature. And I
Mm-hmm.
find that I lean onto that. So for me, people may make whatever judgment they make, but I know that I'm being true to who I am. And that's what matters the most, I feel like. And that's what I want to teach my daughter, that she can show up as her true, authentic self, but also make sure showing up as your best self when you're out there, because it unfortunately, people judge you based upon how you present yourself. They do.
Right.
I don't agree with it, but that's what people do. And that's one of the things I'm gonna teach my child to do also. But to me, it's more so you have the people that are following in line with the rules of society, and those that don't. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about people that lean onto their true nature, even if it goes against what the matrix of society is. and I lean on that. And part of that is having my own true self-expression. But it's still interesting to people. It still draws people in regardless. And I think it's because of the authenticity piece and how I feel good in how I show up. I feel like that's the difference.
Yeah.
Right.
Because when I think about like my personal style too, um, what came to mind as you were talking is Billie Eilish. Ma, do you know who Billie Eilish is?
Oh yes, I do.
Wow, I'm surprised.
Excuse me?
LaToya, you know who Billie Eilish is?
Yes.
I actually don't think I know who that
Oh my
is.
He dressed.
I
He
don't think
dressed.
unless I
Billy
don't know the
Irish
name, but I know the face. A lot of times that
is a
happens. I
black
don't know the
guy.
name.
No,
A
okay,
black.
you thinking about somebody else, Ma. So both of y'all don't know who I'm talking about.
Is it Billy Irish in black?
Billie Eilish. Not whoever you're thinking of. I know who you're thinking of. The guy, I think he has like dreads or something and he sings
No,
music.
no. Tell me who Billy Irish is.
Billie Eilish, she's a young pop star, vegan. She's a vegan.
Oh, it's a
Um,
girl. Oh,
yes. Anyway, you can research her.
okay.
But
Because I was thinking of, yeah.
she has a more relaxed, like you if you think of like, the time millennials grew up in the 90s, folks are wearing jeans, it's very relaxed and stuff like this. And you have folks, and that's what I mean by the two paths, where it's like you have folks who seem to get away with having a style and being self-expressed that's very relaxed. And because my Taylor Swift and Beyonce examples were really not that great, because they do a lot. Taylor Swift wears a lot of makeup. She dresses, again, the same thing with Beyonce. They put on, right? And you have folks like Billie Eilish who don't. She's just very much, and I think a black equivalent, I guess, would be like an Erykah Badu when she first came out. It was very relaxed. At that time, folks weren't really dressing like that. But now, this is more, even when I think of that Erykah Badu type look, I still think church. Anything that where you dress up is like church. But you wouldn't wear, athleisure to church, right? And I think that's the difference. It's like where some people get away with dressing a certain way and it's okay for them. They don't have to be worried about how people are perceiving them. And then other folks, it's this thing. So like contending with that, and like even they're specifically, this study is looking at high school girls, right? If the study was done on high school boys, I would think this too would be relevant. Not necessarily the hair, but sometimes it's the hair, but more
Maybe
so
the,
like dress. Because you think about like the black hoodie, right? Where for some people this is just clothes, and for other people it's like it could be a threat, and can put me in danger, if I'm wearing this type of thing. And so it's like
but
we're living in this society where it's like there's just two cultures, probably even more so than that, but like,
I think we have more than two.
yeah, but we're living a different type of life. We have to show up differently, and that kind of pressure, I know for me as an adult, it's disappointing, it's disheartening, as a young person who may be feeling this in high school, that's tough. I couldn't imagine,
How about the
feeling.
boys of today, or I should say men, because some of them are not boys anymore, with their pants down underneath their behind. I mean, they need to do a study on that, and they will be doing a study on that because there's something gonna go wrong with their hip.
Okay, well,
Another
so
study for the time.
another study, yeah, I'm pretty sure somebody's out there doing this study. So, the family dynamic, I do want to ask this before we close up. Do you feel like there's something, I know you both mentioned that it's important for the young people to have models. LaToya, you mentioned the mom and how important that was, that she reflects the kind of beauty standard sometimes it doesn't work out that way, right? I know you, mom, you had your hair straight because you said,
I used to texturize my hair. I
yeah.
don't get it straightened. Texturize it,
But
and when I
sometimes your hair was straight in rollers or whatever.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I texturize it because I never used to get it straight. I texturize it and roll it on the rollers, and it becomes straight. But I did that because I want to save my hair. And as a hairdresser, I know how to save hair. And I would give that service to the customers if they want it.
Yeah, and you were also showcasing what you can offer to the clients, right? So
Exactly.
you were your own business
Model.
card, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes there's a situation where there's going to be a disconnect in how mom looks and how daughter looks, you know? But what else can be done in terms of like empowering our young women, right? So you mentioned, LaToya, the books, reinforcement with positive languaging. Like, what else do you feel is needed in order to build up that self-love, that body positivity, to embrace themselves and however they want to express their hair?
Yes, I would say going back to the community piece, having maybe having like if there's different groups, family groups or groups for girls or groups for mothers and daughters, and they have things in relation to that, have education on hair, or ways to make it fun, like styling and doing like that kind of thing. I feel like would be also impactful, just reinforcing that, but making it more like a physical thing, because I know not everybody is reached through books, not everybody is reached through. I mean, they maybe need more than just the words. So I do feel like actually having different events that will support the girls, and being able to be and reinforce that, and bringing the mothers, or like any other caretaker or caregiver or whatever, bringing them into the fold with that too. But I'll also say this, that I know that some in this day and age, when you do positive things like that, that it's sometimes difficult to get people to come out to them, and that's why I feel like we need to get back to that piece of community, and getting out there instead of always doing something in the virtual world. And I know that COVID kind of made that happen even deeper. So hopefully we can switch out of that, and get those type of things.
Yeah. Yes, that hands-on in community approach. I think one of the things too, when you mentioned about your experience growing up with relaxed hair, I know from the young women that I went to school with, the reason why their hair was relaxed at young ages is because their mothers just didn't know how to manage their hair. That's why the mothers had their hair relaxed, because they didn't know how to deal with coily hair. It was too much work, too much time, and they just didn't want to deal and didn't have the time to deal. So having like a program where, for the mother and daughter, it could be a healing experience where folks are learning how to take care of their hair, and not be frustrated or annoyed by it like I've been. Ma, from your perspective, as a salon owner, former salon owner, cosmetologist, I mean, what role do you think that these spaces hold? Because these spaces, I mean, they've been pretty significant, right, for Black women and how we commune in spaces.
Well, I think as LaToya was saying, get back in the community. And one of the best place for it to start, because in our church we have a large amount of young people, from the little babies growing up. I mean, we have young people, and it's the best place to start. And one of the beauty that I saw this Christmas when they were having the pageant, every one of those kids here were looking beautiful. Nobody had straight hair or relaxer. It was all natural. So I think that the churches are the best place to start with our young people, because then it's not just teaching them about their beauty, but teaching them in a spiritual way how they were formed. And that's important. If they know where their formation come from, it's very important for them to know.
I
So
like that.
that's just how I feel about it. Because it's just like we're talking about suits and stuff. We don't want to go back to that, but take a person who commit murder. He's a killer. He kills somebody, but when he go to court, he dress up in a suit. So sometimes you don't know who is the killer or who is the lawyer, because they both look the same. They have on beautiful suits. Integrity is very important to put into children. It's very very important to teach them about integrity, not just how they you take the focus off looking at your hero, but your behavior. That has a lot to do with children. Let them learn to love themselves. Teach them how to love themselves, because always tell your child is beautiful. Sam, that's what I did to you from the day you were born until you're a grown woman today. I still tell you the same thing. You are beautiful. And people need to say that to their children every day. This way you say it home. So when they go out in the street and another kid would look at them and say, "You're ugly." No, 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 because my mom say I'm beautiful. And I believe my
Yeah.
mother.
You just
Yeah.
don't even believe it. Yeah. Well, that's
So,
great. I think this is an excellent place to wrap up, in terms of like how do we fortify the next generation, right, to deal with society, right? Have that self love, that self confidence, and be empowered in how they show up. I think we talked about a lot during this session, and I appreciate you both for being so open, honest, and vulnerable and sharing your personal experiences. Thank you, Carol, for getting us started in the chat and for being present. I know there's some other folks watching live. Thank you so much for joining. And until next time, take care. I would love to hear your comments below on what your thoughts are, what you're doing in your family, in your community to help young girls feel more confident in how they look, right, and how they show up in community. Alrighty, take care.